Okay, so I'm going to come to you guys, because you're my favourite thus far, except for Jimmy, obviously. You guys are going to start the clapping and the cheering, and we're going to bring Grant on. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go wild and crazy for me!
Hi. Hi. I'm Grant.
Hi, Grant.
And I've got Don't get heckled with your name, isn't it? I'm Grant, and I've got a confession. I'm going to be honest, because that's the point of a confession. Something that a lot of governments don't actually understand. I'm looking at you, North Korea. I don't want to go there anyway, it's fine. I'm going to be honest, this may be more like therapy than comedy, therapy that you've paid to watch. So, I'm a mathematician.
Yes.
At least someone's excited. And I'm afraid. I'm not afraid of the usual things that academics are afraid of. Tigers, public speaking, bathing. I'm afraid of something far darker. I'm a mathematician who's afraid of differential equations. We've got a lot of differential equations fans in, don't we? Right? So it all started with calculus. My teacher, he asked me to differentiate cos. I just couldn't do it. That was a negative sign. And he said to me, he says, "No worries, I'll make it easier for you." He used to do helium with the physics teachers at lunch. He asked me to differentiate a constant, but all my efforts came to nothing. Then a few years later, he asked me to integrate sec. I realised I was being triggered by trig. I'd like to thank you for listening to this. It's quite hard for me to bring up in a conversation. You see, I'd have to take a tangent. But differential equations they're not my number one overall fear, they're number 2. The gold medal goes to cows. Now, there's lots of similarities between differential equations and cows. Firstly, people try and tell you that they're interesting, but they're really boring. And there's lots of different kinds, and they're all really boring. So you've got, someone says to me, my friend, he does differential equations, comes up to me and he says, "Oh, my differential equation has 5 variables rather than 4. Who cares? Got a farmer friend, he came up to me and he says, "My cow's got 5 legs rather than 4. Who cares? You know, all I'm feeling is pity for the poor guy that's got to deal with those stubborn bastards." And another similarity, at least for me, between cows and differential equations is I think I can handle them. So I'm from the countryside, as you can see. And I'm a mathematician, so you know, I walk into a field of differential equations or cows and I think, you know, I can handle this. And you get about halfway across and you turn around and you realise they're all pawing at the earth. And then they charge and you run away. You run uphill, because cows can't climb hills, probably. That might not be a true fact, it's not in the spirit of Bright Club, but never mind. And you're climbing, you realise by mistake you've climbed an asymptote. You're getting closer and closer to safety, but never quite reaching it. And you get quite high up and you turn around and you realise there's one still sitting there laughing at you. Like one of those cheesemonger cows you see on the telly. Sorry. A lot of people actually have a fear of mathematics, and I think one of the reasons for this is we're quite boring. People see us as boring, and that's because we're not very good when it comes to naming things. So, for instance, we name our variables, we name them x1, x2, x3, or as I prefer to call them, Fiona, Claire, and Derek. Although it does make it easier to remember the reason why each relationship failed. Y1, Y2, Y3. I'm going to stop this bit now because I can see I'm putting some of you in the back to sleep. Z1, Z2, Z3. So I actually do something called discrete maths. And this is maths that you can blame on your sister's Brussels sprout addiction on Christmas Day. That's one guy got that. It's very important not to be caught doing discrete maths, which is why you'll rarely see me in the office. So what is discrete maths? So continuous maths is this crazy land, this ocean of sea that you can get lost in searching for equations. And discrete maths, it's nice, it just comes in lumps, right? And so you can do lots of things with these lumps. You can smash them together, hope you get a new lump. Did you get a new lump? Put it in a paper, something like that. You can connect them up and see how the lumps interact with each other. And on really bad days, you can throw the lumps at other people. But you shouldn't do this. Kind of thing gets you a warning. I maintain it's not my fault that my lumps are stored in the computer. So, in particular, I do something called network theory. So a network is where we take these lumps and we connect them up with edges according to certain criteria. And social scientists are very fond of these because they can use them to model friendship. Personally, I think it's quite extreme to invent an entire branch of maths to demonstrate that you've got friends. You know, if a social scientist needs to do that, then social scientists need to do that, don't they? So, in a friendship network, our nodes are people. So you guys, for now, you're all my nodes. And we draw an edge between any two of you if you're friends. I'm assuming here that friendship is mutual. Because if you're friends with someone and they're not friends with you, you're not their friend. You're their stalker. So can I get a volunteer from the audience, please? This is the exact reaction I get when I ask that in class. This man that's being nice. Do you have a name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Would you like to be my friend, Jimmy?
Okay.
Oh, excellent. That's not the usual reaction I get when I ask that. So, Jimmy, when we were rehearsing, your name was Bryn, so are you okay with being called Bryn?
Okay.
You didn't seem convinced, so we'll stick with Jimmy, shall we? Right, so me and Jimmy are now friends, so there's an edge between us. And so now what we want to do is we want to find out what are the most important nodes / people in our network. So we can do this in a number of ways. So Jimmy, how many friends have you got?
Here.
Just in general.
50.
50, damn. That's more than 4. Jimmy, it pains me to admit this, but you're more important than I am. And this is an example of how discrete maths can hurt. Now, of course, there's other ways we could detect importance. So it could be that I'm friends with people who are more important than Jimmy's friends. So if you're friends with loads of people who are on your course or in your workplace, and I'm friends with, for example, JZ, Beyonce, and Barry Chuckle, then it's a tie because we're all going to die anyway. That was one for the nihilists in the room. Got any nihilists in? Give me a cheer. You guys sure you're nihilists? Yeah, so I don't actually get to study friendship, sadly. I study something called random geometric networks. So to demonstrate this, one of the things that random geometric networks can model is diseases in plants. So let's all imagine you're a potato farmer, like me, right? And you've got a really big field, right? So you can't be bothered planting all your potatoes by hand, because it'll take forever, and you can't bother getting a combine harvester to plant them, because that's not what a combine harvester does anyway. So you hire a plane, right? And you decide you're going to plant the potatoes by just chucking them out of this plane. Way more fun, right? So we're going around, we're lobbing the potatoes out of the plane, and we can agree on 2 things after this. We can agree that, firstly, the potatoes are all they're somewhere random in the field that's not been kind of determined. And we can also agree that you're a shit farmer. So, yeah, and so now we connect up 2 potatoes in our network if they can give each other a disease. I don't know how they're giving each other these diseases. It could be through some form of potato sex. I don't really know how potatoes have sex. I imagine there's an element of mashing. So these potatoes, they can give each other diseases. There's lots of different potato diseases. Potatoes can't get the common cold, however. If you hear a potato sneezing, you're in big trouble. Because it's well known that potato farmers are always trying to find out each other's secrets. And the ones that are sneezing, clearly plants. I don't care, you reacted. And what I'm trying to find out is actually it's not the most important potato in the field, it's the most important edge to try and stop the potato disease from transmitting through the rest of the network. And it turns out the most important edges are the ones that are the longest, so the potatoes that are furthest apart, and also the ones that connect two potatoes that are in different kind of high clusters of potatoes. So there's lots of potatoes over here, lots of potatoes here, not so many here. These are connected. And it might be easier to visualise this as the road network of Scotland. So an example of an important edge in the road network of Scotland would be, for instance, the Forth Road Bridge, because it's a long edge and it connects the high cluster of towns in the south of Fife to the high cluster of suburbs in the north of Edinburgh. So that'd be an example of a really important edge. And so with this knowledge, if you were, saying, the person in charge of Scotland's road network or the Forth Road Bridge, you would absolutely make sure that nothing ever happened to that put it out of commission for, say, a month or 3. During the busiest time in Scotland of the year for people travelling in Scotland. It's clearly a Glasgow crowd. That would have killed in Edinburgh. That and trams, they love trams as well, don't they? So being a PhD student, it's not all research, sadly / fortunately. We also have to do something called continuous professional development. Now, we have to get a certain number of points. I don't know why I said a certain number, like it's some sort of mystery. It's 60, it's in the handbook. We've got to get these points, and we get them for doing things like teaching, or going on courses on how not to procrastinate, which don't work. And also for doing things like Bright Club. And it's a load of nonsense, isn't it? You've got to do all these things. I've got to spend a day to get 1 point learning how not to procrastinate, which surely is in of itself a form of procrastination. But it's okay, because I've got the last laugh, because you see it's a point system, and this makes me very happy. It's actually discrete professional development. Thank you very much, guys.